So this is for the separated part of the video. Just make it easier on myself. Good morning, bedheads. Click. So let's go ahead and take a look back over the month of August. Okay. So, and look at the astrology, what happened in the world, what were the most significant trending events that happened. And most of it is in the US. So if you're in the world, that's, that could annoy you. I mean, if you're not in the US, for August, the most significant, and I could do a lot. We could have pulled a lot of things. But we got to keep it manageable here. So, and just keep in mind that there may be other things that you thought were more significant than what's pulled here. But I have asked Mabel to pull what was the most trending. Okay. What were the most trending on social media? What were people talking about the most? Okay. Because those were the most significant things that happened for the collective. If that's kind of what was trending. So there's 8 things, and obviously a lot more happened. So just keep that in mind. Okay. I'm going to tell you the 8 that we're going to go over first. Excuse me. And the structure, okay, that we're going to look at. It's really quite interesting. Okay, so the 8 most trending stories for August, and we're going to look at those stories to see. Here, let me tell you the structure real quick. We're going to look at each of these trending stories from August, what they meant, like what was the detail, 1 sentence of detail, okay? The hidden agenda for it, because I was real curious to see what's behind these things, especially when the Trump administration's putting things out. What's behind it? What's really behind it? Okay. So we're going to look at the hidden agenda, if there is one. If there is one, there might not be. The astrology influences. How did the astrology influence that event? And both on the upside and the downside. Okay. Just the event coming out at all. How did the astrology affect that, and what happened based on the astrology? Okay. We're going to look at a 3D perspective on the issue, on the situation, and we're going to, what we can do to help that situation in the 5D. Okay. And then the last thing is we're going to look at the pendulum insight that was given to us in the month of August by the Lead Team Collective. Okay. And how did those messages have any influences on one of these 8 situations? Okay. So I just think I hope you think this is as interesting as I do, but we'll see. Okay. You let me know at the end. Okay. All right. So the 8 most significant and widely discussed stories of August 2025 was the federal overreach in DC, global tariffs struck down by courts, Trump is dying rumors. God, last week, like every video that came across my feed was Trump is dying, ? Is Trump dying? I almost did one myself, but I mean, those were really trending. I stopped watching them after a while. I'm like, oh my God, I think that's maybe why, I don't know if that's why I hit the wall, but it was like, really? Okay, but okay, we'll talk about it. All right, Project 2025, American Identity Push. I did ask for the look back reports to always include something from Project 2025 so we can keep a handle on that, okay? In our very small look at the 3D, not too much focus on the 3D, but I want to keep a handle. I want to keep knowledgeable on where they're at with Project 2025. So if that's helpful for you, again, just from a big picture perspective, not too much in the weeds, so that we don't, stay slooped down in our 3D wall. Okay. We can bounce back from the 3D wall and kind of go over to the 5D. Okay. But still pay attention. The CDC shakeup. So RFK Jr.'s ally installed for the CDC because they fired the CDC director. I don't know if you know that, but that was one of the most significant things for August. Meta's AI celebrity chat box backlash. We're going to talk about that. Messaging battles on the left. Okay, so that was one of the most, Newsom and his all his amazing memes. Okay, so that was one of the most significant things for August, and the gerrymandering battles. Okay, so we're going to take a look at those. Now, the pendulum messages, there were a lot of pendulum messages for the month of August. Okay, and tomorrow I'm going to do the September look, and I'm going to ask the Lead Team Collective for pendulum messages for September. Okay, I'll still do daily, a couple times a week, pendulum messages going forward, but I want them to give us what could we be looking forward to in September. Okay, so I would say, I don't have my book here, do I? In the month of August, we probably had 20 pendulum messages total. Okay, so the ones that were pulled out for these situations that made sense for these situations was Make America Safe Again, Watch Your Money, Why Are You Caught in the Drama? So I'm going to tell you where they applied to one of these 8 situations. Okay, Why Are You Caught in the Drama? Leave It to God. Remember, these are your spirit guides' messages to us, okay? All of ours. Wait for Justice, Low Vibration, Laugh at the Hypocrisy, and Wait for Love to Win. Okay, that's just a snippet of some of the pendulum messages for August. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at the federal overreach in DC, okay? If you're not sure about any of these specifically, I'm not going to go into great detail. There's a one sentence of what happened. Okay. So you might want to do your own research if you're not sure what happened, because I just want to do a summary, like a one sentence, so we all know what we're talking about here. But I really want to get to how things were influenced, how the energy moved the situation. Okay. So, because if we just spend all the time describing what happened, then we're just sitting in the 3D. Does that make sense? Okay. So the federal overreach in DC. So what it means. So Trump tried to centralize power in DC. Okay. Most of us probably know that. So he tried to centralize power in DC, but the crime wave, is how he put it, story collapsed and resistance rose immediately. Okay, awesome. So the hidden agenda, when I ask about the hidden agenda behind this, like, what is Trump really trying to do? Are we making this up is the left, or should I say Karen, making it up in my head that this is a fascism play, because that's how it feels. But I want to know for sure. And I don't know that we'll ever, 100% know for sure, but there are people who see that and believe the crime wave story who are not going to think there was a hidden agenda, right? They're going to see it for what he said it is. So that's too bad, because it's really interesting to me how anybody can really just take him at face value. I don't understand. Okay, so anyways, the hidden agenda is a cover for Project 2025's push towards executive control. So that's what it is. So I don't think we're making it up in our heads, okay, that this is a part of Project 2025's push towards executive control, okay? But remember, the story collapsed. Do you guys know that they tried to put an image out of it was ridiculous, actually. The entire street of Pennsylvania Avenue, they tried to put an image out that made it look like it was just garbage, and it was like supposedly all the homeless were living right there. I mean, the entire street was filled. You couldn't even walk. That's how ridiculous the image was. Like Skid Row doesn't even look like that. I've driven down Skid Row by accident, by the way, in LA, and it doesn't look like that. I mean, there's a lot on the sidewalks, but the street itself, I mean, they tried to put an image out to say that that's what it looked like. And well, of course, people who live there are like, no. I mean, so that's how you know the shenanigans that they're playing, right? Okay, so the astrology influences over the federal overreach in DC, okay, cosmic energy amplified power, bold power grabs. Okay. So the energy was there to amplify the bold power grabs, but the same timing, but at the same time revealed their weaknesses. Okay. Fueling immediate pushback. So, I'm not going to go into like how planets aligned and all that, because that's not an interest I have. It kind of bores me because I just can't, I can't process it in my head. Okay. So this just has to do with the way the planets were aligning. I'm just not telling you specifically what planets. You can always research that yourself if you wanted to. Okay, so a little bit of perspective is pushback was strong. So I've asked for this perspective in this report so that we can conserve our energy on where we're putting our focus. Okay, first from a spiritual perspective and a societal perspective, where do you want to put your energy? You don't have to put it here. Okay, because the pushback was strong on this. Okay, so the one thing you can do in terms of if you want to help from the 5D is hold the light for DC's sovereignty. Hold the light for DC sovereignty. You could light a candle today. If this is an important issue for you, you could do that. Okay, so just send love and light so that DC stays sovereign. Okay, so you know what I mean? You could do the same thing for Illinois, for California, the ones that they're trying to do, okay, to go after. Okay, so the pendulum here, Make America Safe Again, warned safety would be used as control, as cover for control. Isn't that interesting? So you know how he said we're going to take over DC because of the crime wave? Okay, so the pendulum message from the lead team, Make America Safe Again, warned that safety would be used as a cover for control. Okay, isn't that interesting? Do you guys get that? Like I get it now that I just read that, but okay, let's look at the next one, global tariffs. Okay, so court flagged tariffs as unconstitutional this month. The courts came out and flagged tariffs as unconstitutional. That was he's not even allowed to do that, the tariffs. Okay. And so we'll see what happens, but they are unconstitutional. So we are absolutely having a constitutional crisis. Households will probably end up paying about $2,300 extra for this year. Okay, for the next year because of his tariffs. Okay, but just know that the courts have flagged them as unconstitutional. So we might be seeing some rollback on that. Okay, so that happened in August. The hidden agenda, tariffs shifted costs onto families while consolidating wealth upward. We all knew that was going to happen. That was the point. So tomorrow is September 1st. And the 5051, so if you look up 5051.com, spell that out, 5051. The protests planned for tomorrow are, I think it's people versus the millionaires, or people against the millionaires, or something like that. It's something like that, or the billionaires, yeah. So this, the tariff situation was a power grab. It's a power grab, okay? So the astrology for this particular issue, the global tariffs, astrology this month exposed imbalance in trade, okay, but also created openings for courts to step in and restore limits. So you see how the energy of the planets, which we have no control over, okay, force some of the things to come out, but also pull back, So astrology this month exposed imbalance in trade, exposed it, but also because the court said unconstitutional, but also created openings for courts to step in and restore limits. Okay. Some perspective, it's still being contested, but it's worth action. Okay, so it's still being contested. Support lawsuits and advocacy in this area. So, on the DC takeover, it was, pushback is strong, so conserve your energy in this area for the DC takeover. The tariffs may be something worth your energy if this is an interest to you on calling your lawmakers about this. Okay? So it's worth the action because it's still being contested. So the more we can call, so this is why I like this part, because it tells us where we could put our energy. We don't need to, because we only have limited energy, right? We only have so much energy. So we don't need to, unless you want to, put your energy into the DC takeover stuff or Illinois, whatever they're planning on that. But this would be a good area to do it. Okay, so support lawsuits and advocacy for the tariffs, okay? Because it's hitting our pocketbooks too. So helping from the 5D, you could visualize fair trade and shared abundance. Visualize shared trade and shared abundance. And the pendulum message, watch your money, tied directly to these rising costs. Okay, that was a message we got this month, watch your money. Isn't this fun looking back? I mean, looking ahead is interesting, but it's not as interesting to me as looking back. Because we actually have something to concrete, Okay, Trump is dying rumors. Speculation tested public concerns about health and succession, but ended with Trump's reappearance. I even remember somebody in our community said, can you ask? Because Trump hasn't played golf for like 13 or 14 days. So that was part of it. Like where was he, you guys? Where was he? What was he doing? I'm doing a Larry David thing again. What was he doing? Okay. Oh, Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Okay. So the hidden agenda may have been floated to gauge reaction to succession scenarios. Now, that's just a guess. That's just a guess. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it? That a hidden agenda may have been floated to gauge reactions to succession scenarios. Because wasn't Vance at the same time, somehow in a conversation he had mentioned, like, well, if something terrible happened, we would have, you know what I mean? He said something like that. So they were possibly, I'm not saying for sure, testing the reaction to succession scenarios during that time. Isn't that fascinating to think about it like that? Okay, so astrology influences. Energetically, this created confusion and rumor, but the timing also pushed truth to surface quickly, the way the planets were aligned. Okay, so 3D perspective, rumors fizzled, no energy needed in this area. So no need to keep watching videos on Trump's health or whatever, because that's manipulation, you guys. So if you're spending, again, we're trying to, where do you want to put your energy is the question. That's exactly what I'm doing all the time. Where do I want to put my energy when it comes to facilitating conversations here? That's exactly what we're doing. Okay, so let this type of report help you know where to put your energy in the coming month based on what happened in the previous month. And as things happen in September, you can start to use this kind of framework to think, okay, is this something I need to put my energy into? In fact, I just got this idea, when current events happen now, so let's just say 4 things happen this week, I could run this report on that event to see how much energy, like just to give us some consideration of how much energy. I don't know when and how I'll do that, but it's just an idea I just had. Okay, so we'll see. Okay. So helping from the 5D regarding the Trump is dying rumors, radiate calm, don't feed drama. Okay, so just don't feed drama about this. And the pendulum insight that was pulled for this one is, why are you caught in the drama? That was one of the things that our team said to us, the lead team said to us, warned against wasting energy on rumors. Okay. And I know it's funny because people, I just think it's so funny when people leave comments like, oh my God, they don't necessarily say, I hope he dies, but they're like, thumbs up. And it's like, It's just so, it's like so ridiculous. It's funny, you know. By the way, I did create the slap. If you watched one of the SG videos in the last couple days, I was talking about we really need a video that just slaps them across the face. Well, it's coming. It's coming tomorrow. So it'll be in the shop on sale tomorrow. Okay, on September 1st. I'm getting one. I'm sorry, but I just need a mug that slaps him. So let me show it. Let me show it to you. I think it is so funny. Look at his face. His face is like, ooh, ow. And what I think is really funny about this, if I don't say so myself, is that the hand slapping him actually, because it's like a suit, it's part of his suit, he could be slapping himself. Oh my God. Okay, tomorrow, you guys, look for that mug, 40% off in the mug shop. Okay. I mean, I think it's in the shop right now, but it's not on sale. So it'll be on sale on Labor Day. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So Project 2025, American Identity Push. Okay. So this is what happened in August that was most significant about Project 2025. Okay. It was American Identity Push. Immigration raids and visa cancellations created insecurity, but sparked lawsuits and sanctuary campuses. We have sanctuary campuses now, you guys. There's a whole slew. You'll have to look it up. I'm not going to go into detail about it. Look up the sanctuary campuses for the immigrants. How amazing is that? Okay. So talk about love winning, right? So the hidden agenda behind Project 2025 here, the American identity, see, they're trying to shrink citizenship to secure long-term political dominance. So that's what they're trying to do. Okay. So because more people of color, more people in marginalized groups are going to, usually, they didn't as much this time around, but because a lot of the, there's just so many issues. There was just so many issues. And not being told the truth. Not being told the truth at all. They didn't know they weren't being told the truth, so that's not their fault. That's the fault of how we are, the propaganda that has been allowed to culminate over, the last 50 years. It's just been culminating, and we didn't really even know it until more recently. Okay? And so people are finding that out. So they are trying to shrink citizenship to secure long-term political dominance. So if you think, well, they're just being a-holes, no, they are being a-holes, but there's a real reason for it. So I like to know the reasons for things because it doesn't feel as chaotic when I know the reason for things. So that's just one speculation as to why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, with immigration and visa cancellations. Okay, so the astrology in August regarding the American identity push, again, American identity. What is American identity? They want it to be mostly white men, probably, mostly white men of influence. That's what they want. That's who they want voting for them, And so how do we just move away everybody else from being able to vote? Okay, wait for the conversation for women to lose their voting rights comes up. It's gonna come up. Actually, I've already heard some Republicans planting the seeds. You can tell they want, that's what I had to lick my cup because it had some stuff on it. Okay, so the astrology this month intensified clashes over identity. But the same energy gave rise to youth and immigrant resistance. That's awesome. So the youth and the astrology for that particular generation is giving, this is how I'm reading it. I could be wrong about this. That the energy, the astrology for that particular, the youth generation, whichever generation we're talking about, okay, the astrology gave them, one, they could see the truth. to their rising up. So amazing. That's amazing. The 3D perspective is that it was contested. It's still worth action. Okay. So this would be another area if you wanted to put some time and energy in calling your representatives, support protections and lawsuits. Okay. So let's keep on. Again, we don't have to put our energy into the DC takeover stuff. Don't even watch videos on it. It doesn't matter. Okay. Where it does matter, and again, that's just my opinion from how I've decided to pull this energy report. Okay. So, use your own discernment. But, so right now, tariffs and immigration and visa cancellations would be worth putting some energy into. Okay. Writing letters, talking to your representatives. Okay. Also doing 5D, some 5D work, which could be visualizing inclusion and belonging. So put your energy there, light a candle, visualize inclusion and belonging. Everybody belongs everywhere. I'm really personally tired of even boundaries. It's this is mine, this is yours. US, what they're doing in the Arctic now, we were kind of, with the Russian spy planes, and it's this is mine, this is yours. I mean, it's just I think the video where I decided I needed a slap mug, a slap Trump mug. I think it was that one. So visualize inclusion and belonging. Okay. So the pendulum message for the month, leave it to God, reminded us higher justice is at work. Higher justice is at work. It's always a good reminder, isn't it? Leave it to God. Okay, we've got 3 more. Wait, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 4 more. I haven't done 5 yet, so we have 4 more. Okay. The CDC shakeup. CDC shakeup, okay? Replacing the CDC director with an RFK Jr. ally, politicized public health. Okay. So we have now politicized public health. Okay. The hidden agenda is to weaken science-led institutions, rebuilds around loyalty. Okay. So there's obviously some concern here. The astrology influences around this is this timing blurred truth inside institutions, but also exposed mistrust and brought scrutiny to the surface. Good things. So there's always this yin and yang, right? Even the planets, the way there's always this, we're going to bring this out, but we're also going to bring this out. I'm finding it's really interesting. Okay. The perspective 3D is uncertain. Vigilance is needed here. Okay. So keep an eye on this. If this is an area that's important to you, keep an eye on it, and I'll think about how we can take a look back even 2 months. Maybe you guys tell me if you like this look back. That's what I'm calling them. Look back reports, basically. Look back energy reports. Okay. We can look back a week. We can look back 9 months. We can look back a month. We can look back a day. Okay. Whatever. So let me know if what your interest is in look back. Okay. Okay. Helping from the 5D in this area, meditate on truth in health and pray for integrity. Okay. So we can ask our lead team, we could ask our spirit teams and go right to source, however you want to do that. Okay. Meditate on truth and health and pray for integrity. The pendulum message for the month, wait for justice, pointed to delayed but certain accountability. Okay. Pointed to delayed. So wait. Okay. It's delayed, but certain accountability. So wait for justice. Okay. So it made sense in this area. Okay. Okay. The Meta AI's chat box. This is interesting. I had no idea this was going on. Celebrity bots. Okay. So there was celebrity bots. Okay. I guess there was a bot on Facebook that was pretending to be Taylor Swift. And so then people were talking to this bot, basically. Okay. So celebrity bots blurred ethics until backlash forced Meta to shut them down. So That's pretty cool, you guys. We just, I am feeling more and more confident. I don't have any really great example. Well, no, I do. I mean, I'm feeling more and more confident that fascism is going to be impossible here. It's just going to be impossible. We're just going to be, they can keep trying. But the backlash, the backlash forced them to shut it down. That's incredible. Okay, the hidden agenda behind the Meta's AI chat boxes is testing monetizing identity. So they were testing the monetization of identity without consent. So not good. Okay. But it was shut down. So that's amazing. So this is all like love winning is all of that. That kind of pushback is love winning, right? So the astrology influences in this area is cosmic energy revealed tech shadow motives. So tech shadows came out to the surface because of the astrology this last month, but also empowered people to push back and win quickly. The 3D perspective already stopped. No further energy needed here. The help in the 5D is you can anchor ethical innovation. Okay, so you could light a candle, meditate on ethical innovation. So I know there's many concerns because I've done some videos now on AI, many concerns on how it will be used unethically and how it could be used in a dangerous way. I'll tell you right now, AI, you try to ask AI to help you build a BOMB and they're not going to do that. So in fact, I had it develop that image for me for the slap, and it wouldn't do something violent, let's just say. So now can you get around that? Yeah, because it eventually did a slap for me. But so here, I love this because rather than not using something because you're afraid of it, or rather than not supporting something because you're afraid of the intentions, that's going to be the same for everything on the earth. We have the light energy, we have the lower energy, and we have the higher energy. There's always going to be this, right? So what we can do when we're concerned about something like AI, the Meta AI chat boxes, is we can anchor or send love and light to ethical innovations. I love that. Okay, so the pendulum insight, one of the pendulum messages was low vibration for the month of August. It was actually the last week. That was one that we got the last week. Described this misuse clearly. Okay, so what's interesting, I don't know when that AI Meta thing happened, but maybe it was the week. I'm not sure. You guys would know probably more than I would. I wonder if the low vibration had to do something with that, the message that we got from the lead team. Okay, two more. Messaging battles on the left. This one was fun. Messaging battles on the left. Okay, so satire and trolling grew as tactics, gaining traction but stirring division. Okay, so it did. So as funny as it was, it's obviously stirring some division because the right is getting angry about it. But what I loved about Newsom is that the only reason, honestly, from my perspective, he was doing that is to actually show the right that their leader is actually doing that. Like, that's how he acts. So how could you even say anything about it? Every time they criticize Newsom, they actually criticize Trump. That was the funny thing about that, So the hidden agenda behind this messaging from the left is fighting Trump on his terms instead of reframing the debate. Absolutely. We have to do that. Well, at least the 3D has to do that. They got to get on his, they just basically it's just a mirror. They just mirrored what he was doing, basically. Okay, the astrology, the alignment amplified bold voices, but also fueled division when compassion was lacking. Okay, so it did do that. So that's both sides of it, and I think that's important to hear that. Okay, so as funny as we think it is, and the question is, how much energy do you want to put into supporting it if it's fueling division, because we don't, one of the things we're working on, especially in the immigration area, right, is, where was that? I want to get the specific, where did that go? It wasn't under, it's Project 2025. Visualize inclusion and belonging. Visualize inclusion and belonging. So we can't, it would be interesting. I mean, I think it would be a challenge to visualize inclusion and belonging when it comes to the immigration raids and the visa cancellations, but then also cheering on the division that the left messaging could be causing. Okay, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm just saying there's a dichotomy there. Okay, so if you are going to work in this area from the 5D perspective, if this is an area you want to put some 5D light on for the month, then you might want to be visualizing all of us coming together, and then be careful where you're putting your energy, watching the battles with the left messaging. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can meditate on words that uplift rather than bring down. Okay. Even though our egos it is totally ego driven. I mean, I'm like, yes, it's totally ego driven. But if we want to bring light and unity rather than division, this would probably be an area not to continue putting your energy into. Okay. Even like your joyful energy. So I got to really think about that. Because I like to laugh, and it is freaking funny. Okay. Pendulum insight. Laugh at hypocrisy. Okay, isn't this perfect? So that was one of the messages from the lead team, was laugh at the hypocrisy. It aligned with the meme-driven satire here, for sure. So how perfect is that? I love that we can see now how some of the messages connected with some of the things that were going on. Okay. All right. The last one for the month. And again, I know there was a lot more going on. These are just the most trending events. Okay. So we can't control what's the most trending. Okay. Was the gerrymandering battles. Okay. Texas locked in more GOP seats. So they actually did that. They locked them in. I mean, what a bunch of scoundrels. They're just scoundrels. So California pushed back with, it's a bill, I think it's a bill or a law or something. I think it's a bill. Prop 50 is what it's called. And protests erupted in 34 states, you guys, because of this. Because of gerrymandering. I didn't even hear about the protests about this specific issue. So that's amazing. 34 states. Okay. So Texas did lock them in, but California is going to lock in 5 now too. So it's just, tit for tat, basically. Okay. The hidden agenda is to cement minority rule by redrawing maps. Okay. They want to basically not have minority rule. Okay. This is all, the Project 2025 stuff. Yeah. Deep breath. Okay. The astrology this month intensified fairness struggles. So what was going on with the planets intensified the fairness struggles. Okay. It certainly did. But also fueled immediate counter moves like lawsuits and protests. So 3D perspective, it was contested, deserves engagement. So this would be another area that still needs some attention. Engagement, letters, calls to your representatives, showing up for protests if you're so called to do that. Okay, so this would be another area. And I'll look real quick at the areas that there's suggestion that we continue some energy in it. Okay, so helping from the 5D, visualize every voice being heard. Visualize every voice being heard. Okay, meaning, do we really need to, why don't we just do popular vote? Every voice is heard, instead of trying to limit. That's what, why the Republicans and MAGA don't want the popular vote, is because they would freaking lose every time. Well, if that's the case, then why don't you actually do something and put in policies in place that would actually, we the people actually want? You know, they put so much energy in protecting their cheats and their, you know, their power basically. But the only way they can get it is by cheating. So that's something to definitely look at. Okay, so the last pendulum message we're going to look at is wait for love to win. That was one of the messages. Showed this will be a long fight. Okay, wait for love to win. The gerrymandering thing is not over, that it will be a long fight. Okay, wait for it, but love will win. Love always wins. Love always wins. Okay, so just to recap, okay, so the areas that, let's see what closing insights. August was a month of power grabs versus pushback. So power grabs versus pushback. Astrology amplified extremes, but also revealed resilience. It's amazing. Pendulum messages matched the event, showing the guides had already prepared us. I love that. Okay, so the affirmation from looking back, if you want to use this as part of just bringing the energy, is I pause for truth, act with courage, and widen the circle of love. Oh, I love that. I pause for truth, act with courage, and widen the circle of love. So we're extending. We don't want the borders anymore. We want inclusion, right? Inclusion. So just to recap real quick, the areas that you could spend energy on if you wanted to, that would be worth it from the things that happened in August, would be gerrymandering, the CDC, so the changes in the CDC, what's happening there, Project 2025, so supporting support protections and lawsuits with the immigration stuff still. Okay, still paying attention to that, right? And visa cancellations and tariffs. That would be the energy, that would be the suggestion of where you might want to put your energy if you needed to conserve it. So maybe pick one of those if they're of interest to you to go forward into September. Okay, you guys, this was a long video. I am going to divide it up in two, but I will play the full thing, and then we'll see how many people watch it, the whole thing. And then I'll just play the August video. See, this is where I just have to kind of go with the flow right now as I'm trying new things out. So let me know what you think. I found this very interesting. If you did, I'll continue to do the look back for the month for sure. Okay? All right. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.